So, question of the day. Which one is better? Hotels or Airbnbs? Y'all comment below and let me know what you think. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to be giving my personal opinion on the pros and cons of both for the Summer on Smash series episode 10. This is Marcus Frazier, by the way, from Teachable Tuesdays, here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. And as always, I thank you for checking the video out. Greatly appreciate it. If you want more information about this, don't click off just yet. Make sure you stay tuned. I have some information that just might help you out. Seeing as it is summertime and I know a lot of people like to travel, I wanted to give some tips as far as pros and cons for hotels versus Airbnbs, which one I think is better, my personal experiences with both, and so on and so forth. Now, please remember, a lot of these are opinionated. I do have some facts mixed in there, obviously, but it's up to you to determine which one you think is best for you and your family, or just you if you're going solo dolo. So here we go. We all know what a hotel is. We all know what an Airbnb is, so I'm not going to get too much into that. If you're not sure by any chance, feel free to look it up on Google. But let's talk about some of the pros of staying in a hotel and an Airbnb. Now, before we determine which one is which, right, we have to determine first of all, who's all going on the trip and where you are going at that. That will determine which one is better. Now, please note, I'm going to do this from a national experience. I'm not going to do this from an international experience only because I have not traveled internationally as of yet. That is going to be coming very soon. But as far as nationally, and I'm talking about mainly the United States. So if you're not from the United States, maybe this is just something you might want to take heed on if you ever come over here, if you ever visit, or if you choose to live over here one day, so on and so forth. Again, it depends on location. Because even though Airbnbs are becoming a lot more popular, if you're looking at some of the smaller towns, some of the super smaller cities, Airbnbs may not be as active there compared to the major metropolitan cities or even some of the semi-metropolitan cities, right? Obviously, when you think about big cities like Orlando, Baltimore, New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Houston, and I could go on and on and on, right? Those places will have a good mixture of both, right? Now, let's look at price, because obviously that's the first thing that a lot of people look at when it comes to determining an Airbnb or a hotel. Price-wise, it really depends. Now, from my personal experience, Airbnbs for the most part have always been cheaper than hotels, but it depends on the location. I'll give you an example. Georgia, mainly Atlanta and Atlanta adjacent areas. One of my best friends told me that Airbnbs are just about the same as hotels. I looked into it. He was absolutely right. Because at first I was like, well, that hasn't been my experience, although I've never gotten an Airbnb in Georgia, but just in general. He said, yeah, man, look it up. Looked it up. There were actually some hotels that were cheaper than Airbnbs. And I'm not talking about motels. I'm not talking about super cheap hotels. I'm talking about like good quality hotels, you know, Holiday Inn, Express Inn, Days Inn, things of that sort of nature. You know what I mean? It's another one I'm thinking about. Residency is one. Hilton, that's another one as well, right? So I'm thinking about those hotels. So it really just varies. Again, from my personal experiences, Airbnbs have always been cheaper. But I will say price-wise, there is something that you do need to consider. And that thing that you need to consider in terms of price would be your duration period of your trip. How long do you plan on staying there? And also, I would argue, how many people do you plan on bringing with you? That plays a factor too. So let's just start with you being solo dolo. Obviously, we know trips are going to be more expensive in general when you're solo dolo. If you are riding out by yourself, here is my take. Riding out by yourself, long term, the Airbnb is going to be cheaper. For the most part. That's just where it's going to be for the most part. If it's a short-term thing, the hotel might be cheaper. Because I know sometimes Airbnbs, they offer deals for long-term stays. Like, for example, if you stay for a week, they'll give you like a certain percentage discount off the price. I think the last Airbnb Airbnb I stayed at, it was like a 5-day special. If you stayed there at least 5 days, they cut down your Airbnb by like 10%. And when I went to California for Cali Slide, I stayed there for almost 7 days actually. And my Airbnb price was reduced by, I think, like 15%. So, they have certain deals with that and so on and so forth, because essentially these places encourage long-term stay or longer-term stay, because the longer you stay there, the more money they get. However, I will say this, for shorter-term stays, sometimes hotels are better if you're only staying for a night or two for this reason. Number one, reasons, I'm sorry. Number one, a lot of Airbnbs, they won't let you stay there if you're only staying there for like 1 or 2 nights. Some Airbnbs even have like 3-night minimums or 2 to 3 night minimums. So if you're looking for a place just for 1 night to crash, Airbnb might not be your best option, especially if it's on a short-term notice, which that's another thing to look at when it comes to short-term versus long-term. Short-term meaning, I don't mean your trip is short. I mean like suddenly you got to find a place to stay. It's an emergency, or, something just came up all of a sudden. Hotel is much better than the Airbnb because of that very reason. Now, if you're looking for a place 2 to 3 nights, you can do Airbnb. But if you're looking for a 1 night, hotel is always going to be your best option, because hotels will always have rooms available, even if online it says that there are no rooms available, just for the simple fact that people cancel all the time. And also, there are a lot more no-shows for hotels than you think. I found that out recently when I got a hotel for me and my best friend when we went to homecoming last year. You know what I'm saying? We didn't realize how many rooms were empty until we had to vacate and move to another room, because there was one particular room that was causing us some problems, right? So you got to think about that. As far as cleanliness, most of the hotels I've been to have been relatively clean. Most of the Airbnbs have been relatively clean. I've had one experience where there was a horrible experience of infestations of bugs from a hotel and Airbnb. So as far as which one is cleaner, I'm going to argue the Airbnb one. I think the Airbnb one gets that one as far as cleanliness. But again, I haven't had too many bad experiences with hotels. But, some people, they often say things, oh, well, hotels, they don't wash their sheets all the way, or this and that, and they have bed bugs and so on and so forth. I personally have never had that experience as far as bed bugs or anything like that. As far as not washing the sheets, I don't know if I've ever had that experience. I hope they wash their sheets. I pray they wash their sheets, because look, you never know what people be doing in hotels and Airbnbs, all right? So just putting it out there. So as far as cleanliness, I'm going to give it to B&Bs, but most of my experiences have been good for both. Price-wise, I'm going to give that to B&Bs. As far as effectiveness in terms of quick needs versus long-term needs, quick needs I'm going to give to the hotel, because like I said, of the 2 to 3 night duration a lot of Airbnbs have. Although there are some 1 night Airbnb durations, but it might be harder to find. You have to take that into consideration. Location. That's another thing to consider as far as which one is better between Airbnbs and hotels. Now, I will say this. Every time I've gotten a hotel or Airbnb, it has been in a beautiful location. So you want to make sure you look the area up, especially when it comes to Airbnbs, right? Because if you have a specific preference in terms of where you want to stay at, and a lot of times they will give you the address once you make a down payment. And even if you haven't made a down payment, I'm gonna get to that next. Even if you haven't made a down payment, you still have a general idea of where that area is at, right? So that's something else to consider. As far as the down payments, I'm glad I said that. Down payment is interesting. I'm gonna give the down payment to the Airbnbs only because nowadays, maybe this is just me. I wonder if this is a universal thing, but it seems like Airbnbs don't charge you for a down payment. It's $0 for a down payment to book an Airbnb, and then they charge your card at a certain date, right? But I think hotel prepayments and or down payments in Airbnb are very, very cool and very, very unique and very, what's the word I'm looking for? They are, gosh, Marcus, can't even think of the word. Flexible. There we go. Flexible. Most hotels I've looked at, you can book now and pay later. Especially if you go through a third-party website like booking.com or Hotel Suites. But I will say this, there are some hotels where no matter what, even if you go through a third-party website, you still have to pay a certain amount to book the hotel. So that's something that you need to consider. And also, just a word to the wise, especially if this is one of your first times ever booking a hotel or Airbnb, make sure you pay attention to the due date that the money is coming out the card and the time that you have to cancel, because it's very easy to forget when you have life going on. And if you forget and all of a sudden you got to cancel your trip, you might be screwed. I think you're more screwed from the hotel aspect than the B&B aspect, because at least with the B&B, you won't necessarily lose out on all of your deposit or all of your money if you forget to cancel. They might just say, oh, well, you can only get half of your money back. Well, hotels, for the most part, you miss that due date, unless it's a situation where you could pay at the place. Nah, you cook, fam. You ain't getting that money back. So pre-price wise, definitely going to give it to Airbnb. But again, another thing, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that you have to consider. You have to consider how many people are coming to the Airbnb or the hotel with you. If it's just you solo dolo, some people would argue that a hotel might be better. Just for the simple fact that what you need all the space for Airbnb. But I've also found plenty of one-bedroom Airbnbs that were perfect. The Airbnb I was at for Cali Slot was one of the best Airbnbs that I'd ever been in. There was an Airbnb that me and my friend Ann stayed in when I went to go visit her in San Diego in 2022. That was technically a one-bedroom Airbnb, but for two people, it worked out because we really just didn't need a lot of space. So I will say, when it comes to large-size families, depending on how much family is coming with you, maybe a hotel might be better, right? But again, before you consider all those factors, price is a factor, location is a factor, so on and so forth. You also got to think about utilities. Which one is better for utilities? Typically speaking, Airbnbs are always going to be better when it comes to utilities, because for the most part, there's a guarantee that they'll have something. But even then, I would say always look at the utilities list to see what they have and what they don't have. I know when I get an Airbnb, I always look to make sure they have a microwave, they have a stove. Of course, most are going to have a refrigerator. I have yet to go to an Airbnb that does not have a refrigerator. And a washer and dryer. Preferably a washer and dryer. Now, I will say this. The last Airbnb I was at did not have a washer and dryer. But for the most part, I typically try to look for those things if I'm staying there long term. If it's a trip and I'm only staying 3 or 4 days, I don't worry about that. I get a big old plastic trash bag, put all my dirty clothes in there, boom, boom, and I just wash it when I get home. You know what I'm saying? Also, that's a nice little side note hack. If you're trying to figure out where to put your dirty clothes at from a trip, and there's no washer and dryer, especially if it's, midterm to long-term trip, get yourself a hamper before you go, like a drawstring hamper or a trash bag. Put all your dirty clothes in the trash bag and just put it to the side. And when you leave, put that thing in your suitcase, wash your clothes when you get back. Just a small little hack in case you didn't know. But I don't know how many people actually do that. I know I definitely do that. I've been doing that for eons, probably since I was 18 years old, right? So all in all, which one is better? My personal opinion, I'm rocking with the Airbnb. I'm team Airbnb. I think it's just a little bit more convenient. I think it's a little bit more private. That's another thing I didn't bring this up, but privacy. Airbnbs are definitely a lot more private depending on which type you get. If you're getting like a standalone one, because there are some Airbnbs where you share rooms and you're in a house. I don't really care for those, although if I had to get one, I didn't have a choice, I would do it. But I prefer having my own space. It's a beautiful thing, especially me, like I'm a single man, I don't have any kids, to where I could just be there and I don't have to worry about people trying to, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to worry about nobody intruding or hear noises next door or whatever the case may be, pots and pans and, little kids yelling and screaming. Nah, I don't want to deal with all that. So, that privacy-wise, I would definitely give it to Airbnb. But overall, hotels are still pretty dope too. Again, it is all depending on your situation. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below. Let me know which one you think is better, hotels or Airbnbs. Also, tell me why you think that's better. This is Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays, here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. Just to give you a quick update before I exit, we have about 4 more episodes. Am I doing my math right? No, 6 more. We have 6 more episodes of the Summer on Smash series. I do have the playlist created, so if you missed any episodes, you want to go back, you can watch it. This is not like a series in terms of you have to watch video 1 before video 2 and so on and so forth, like a lot of my series. But, if you want to go back, I'll leave a link to the playlist below so that way you can check it out. We're going to be starting a new series in August. I will reveal what the series is going to be called probably the last week of the month. I think I'll reveal it then because I have several ideas in mind. Trying to go, I normally do my back to school series, but I'm trying to go with a slightly different approach. I still want to do something back to school related, but I really want to go in this year. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to angle that. But nonetheless, I've been talking long enough. Love you guys. God bless. Have a great day. Peace.